2023-2019 Commission meeting. Are there any comments or questions there? All right, we'll proceed. Review the memorandum of warrants for the period of May 18, 2019 through June 4, 2019. Mr. Byer?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, for that period, the memorandum of warrants was $964,006.33.
Thank you. All right, now we'll proceed with old business. Discuss board appointment to Community Action Partnership of Middle Alabama. Appointment due 6/24/2019. If you'll recall, this was this organization was the Community Action Group was reorganized within the last year or so with a little bit larger geographic region, and we were invited to participate in that organization by having a board appointment to represent the county commission on that particular board. Are there any comments or any names that would like to be brought forth at this time?
Chairman, Mr. Byer, was there a request or maybe something in their new bylaws that I recall where they wanted did they want an elected official or just a general someone that lives in Elmore County?
It can be either one. I think the executive director was requesting an elected official.
Okay.
Yes.
Did she want that? Go ahead, Commissioner. Okay.
And just as a reminder, you've got a representative who is not an elected official that is from the eastern part of the county that was already named. So there's one more slot. That individual is from the Tallahassee area. It was submitted by Mayor Hammock and his council. So.
Thank you.
We'll continue to consider that, and if any names are presented or any recommendations come through our office, we'll gladly review them. The next item on the agenda, consider authorizing chairman to execute sales agreement with the City of Wetumpka for the Timms Building. For those who aren't familiar, the Timms Building, we refer to it as the Timms Building. It's where Timms Pharmacy was housed for many, many years in downtown Wetumpka. We have, prior to this commission taking office, the previous commission was pursuing potential opportunities at one time to renovate the building, but the decision was made to build the annex because the building was not in a condition that could be renovated suitable for the needs of the county. And at that time there was some conversation as to what could be done with the building. It's been used in some instances as storage on a limited basis. Most of those items have been removed from the building, and we have about a while ago we asked our legal counsel to identify possible ways by which we could sell the building with the intent of fulfilling the or administering the trust in a proper manner. The building was donated to the county some 120 plus years ago, and so now we have an opportunity to both fulfill our role as administering the trust and helping the intended beneficiaries of the trust, while also providing an opportunity for a tax revenue source for the City of Wetumpka and the county in what is becoming a more retail-oriented downtown Wetumpka. So we'll open it up for any discussion regarding this proposal.
I got a few things to say, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Number one, the downtown renovation started in 2012. This is 2019. So, you know, it's still going on. That's not a negative, I'm just saying the facts. Number two, that building was given to the county in 1890 for the purpose of helping needy people. And somewhere along that line it got off track as far as keeping up with any revenue, because we had the VA over there, we had Timms Pharmacy, and we had another governmental agency, I can't remember the name of it, over there.
School board.
well, I'm not talking about them downstairs, next to the VA. It was
Mental health.
yeah, and we don't have any records of what happened with that money that I'm aware of. So, that's a concern. The other concern is that it was given to us under specific conditions. And I talked to a gentleman today, myself, because I did a lot of research. I talked to Joe Allen Turner, who is the, what you might call the historian for Wetumpka and Elmore County. He said the building was given for that purpose, to help indigent people. I talked to Barney Timms, who when I was going there in the 60s, because we played ball together and went to school, he thought it was for a pauper fund for burial. None of that ever took place, to my knowledge. I'm just saying to my knowledge. And I just talked to a gentleman today that offered to give $20,000 more than the city offered to give. So, I say all that to say this. I'm not going to vote to sell it for $20,000 less, because that affects needy, indigent people. That's just my personal opinion. You know, if we want to give it to the city for $130 and not get the other 20, which is $150, and the gentleman that told me has got the means to do that, then that's fine. If y'all want to vote for that, that's okay. There's no hard feelings, but I can't, in my heart, vote to give $20,000 away that could help needy people. I just can't do it. So that's where I'm at with it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. No, he wasn't on. That was Keith Holly. I don't mind telling you his name. Keith Holly owns a bunch of stuff in Wetumpka. He owns McCullough Dentistry and some gas station stuff. He was going to develop it into an office complex, but that's not the issue, Commissioner Reeves. In my mind, the issue is whatever we sell it for has to go to help the needy people, not necessarily going forward, because the city is not going to take it and develop it for needy people, I don't think. But that's just my personal opinion. And he has the wherewithal to pay the money. That's not an issue. So if we want to leave that money on the table, that's fine. But I just don't see leaving out people like the pregnancy center or the food pantry or a Dulham house or people that care or what used to be the boys club. We could take that money and put it to use. That's a lot of money in my mind. So
thank you, and we appreciate your comments. I think that there are a lot of things that the city of Wetumpka can do with the building that would lead to a lot of opportunities down the road. The city of Wetumpka is paying all closing costs. We have a written proposal from the city of Wetumpka. I think that there are numerous. I have walked through the building, and I am a individual who's owned several buildings in that downtown area, and the fact that the condition of the building, I think, is a responsibility that we have as a county commission, and we are not landlords by any means. We have a lot of other responsibilities to fulfill throughout the county, and I think this is an opportunity to accomplish several different things. I think that this has been openly discussed. In fact, over 3 years ago, there were proposals put forth before the previous county commission regarding the use of that building. Two entities expressed interest. One withdrew, and the other is still the city of Wetumpka after 3 years with an express interest for the building. Any other comments?
Yeah, I have one. We've not made any effort to advertise the building is for sale at all, to see what we could get. The only reason I came up with the 150 is because I called him, because he's a Wetumpka entrepreneur, he offered 20,000 more right off the bat. How do we know what we could get if we put it up for sale? And going back to what you're talking about with the city and all, I have no problems with the city, zero problems. But we don't know what they're going to do with it. They're going to turn around and lease it out like they did with Coosa Cleaver with the Little Sounds building, which is no different than an entrepreneur leasing it out to other people. The thing I'm concerned about is the money we get to go to help the needy people, period. And that's the bottom line. We don't know. I've got the appraisal here, and I'm sure all of y'all have looked at it. The $130,000 appraisal is worthless. I mean, I was in lending for 44 years. You don't use comparables in Luverne, Alabama, and Tallahassee, Alabama, and Millbrook, Alabama, to come up with a value in Wetumpka, Alabama. And I think all of y'all will agree. I assume you looked at it.
The worthless appraisal came from our revenue department.
I'm looking at the one that the city got. I'm not talking about
The revenue, the value.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that. I don't know what the revenue said. I'm talking about the commercial appraisal that the city got. I mean, that's not a valid appraisal under any circumstance. But that's neither here nor there. We can do what we want to do. I just want to make sure that I say we get the most we can get to help the needy people in this county. Period. I don't care who's involved. If it's the city, the state, or the government. That's got nothing to do with getting the money to give back to the people. And I'll be quiet.
All right, thank you. Any other comments?
Chairman, just as a point of clarification, it was stated that the commission maybe had not properly used the money according to the provisions by which they received the property from the Tulane Trust. And we did recognize a number of years ago when we first started looking into this that we could not answer that question. But that took place well before this commission was ever in office. To my recollection, the building has been vacant since we have been in office. In fact, I remember touring the facility soon after we took office, and the facility has some structural issues. It needs some work. I see the value of selling the building now as a component of helping Wetumpka achieve their goal of redeveloping downtown. And just from my perspective, especially my years of being in the business, if you've got someone that's willing to pay you something like they're willing to pay us $130,000, they're paying all closing costs. I think that's us being very responsible in trying to extract those dollars from that building versus holding it and something potentially happening to the building and us having to invest additional funds to then turn around and sell it for maybe a little bit more than $130,000. I do think we need to be responsible and to the people that would realize the funds that we sold it for. But I think there's multiple benefits for us to sell it at this point in time, considering we have a buyer ready to sign a contract. That's all I have, Chairman.
Thank you. Any other
Chairman,
comments? Yes, sir.
I think I was on this commission when we first started talking about that building, and I got off, but it was some stated into when they gave it to you, to the county back in whatever year it was. I think the attorney, you would have that in writing, what they said that building would be used for when they donated it to the county.
Commissioner, that was in 1890.
Yeah, 1890. He died in 1897.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it was actually in 1899 when the settlement was actually reached.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually pursuant to a special act by the legislature in that year. The trust was set up for charitable purposes. It didn't define exactly who it was, but it was for charitable purposes for the poor. and those were the purposes. It goes back a little further than that. The building was actually, there was a situation where basically the intended beneficiaries or whoever was going to utilize the property was going to have to wait until all the nieces and nephews died. And that's why to my understanding, that's why the legislature passed that act and allowed the county at that time to go ahead and settle that instead of wait for everybody to pass.
So, the county was, by the act of the legislators, the county was given the ability to use for charitable purposes for...
Well, it doesn't actually, as you might guess, the document was written then in a manner for that time period, which doesn't really fit now. It's not descriptive enough now to absolutely say exactly who the intended beneficiaries are. Under the law, the Attorney General's office is the interested person that steps in when a charitable trust like this does not specifically define intended beneficiaries.
So you got an Attorney General's opinion that says what?
It's not an AG's opinion, but the Attorney General has reviewed the matter and has decided the same.
So we can sell the building, but we use the funds for...
Yeah, well, that's what the trustees are for, to decide exactly who the intended beneficiaries need to be. That's what the trustees are for.
And we are the trustees in this particular matter.
That is correct.
And we have that responsibility, and obviously the maintenance alone on a building like that in today's time versus 130 years ago is much different and requires a lot more. The opportunity that we have in selling the building provides us with funds that then we can assist potential beneficiaries, multiple potential beneficiaries, not just one individual.
So we as trustees, we can sell the building and utilize the money for whatever purpose that we see. So I know Commissioner Hope brought up that he said somebody offer $20,000 more than the city did. So
is that in writing?
No, it was on the phone today, but let me back up to something. Mr. Courtney, if I read the deed a bunch, it's hard to read because it's so dim. It used the word indigent. Do you agree?
I believe it used the word possibly destitute, which meant pretty much the same thing. It is
so
very
that
difficult
kind of narrowed
to read.
it down to a certain group of people in some sense as far as what the money goes for. But backing up, Commissioner Reeves, I don't think that knowing Keith Holly, and I'm sure you know him well, if he said 150, he can come up with 150 in a couple of days. So that's not an issue. And then he owns McCullough Dentistry. He owns a strip mall down where the Chinese restaurant is, or whatever it is. I don't eat Chinese, but down that way. So he's a prominent businessman in Wetumpka that cares about Wetumpka. My concern is, I'll say it one more time for the last time, we get the most money we can to help the needy people, period. I don't care about he's not going to do anything that's harmful to downtown redevelopment. He's got businesses down here, same as like Earl Singleton. I didn't talk to him, but I did talk to Keith. That building was built, by the way, in 1852. I think that's right. When I did my research on it. And there's a lot of, Barney Timms, who's a friend of mine, whose daddy took it when it was little drugs, when I was going there in the early 60s, thought that it was set up for a pauper fund. If people died in, say, the jail, they had nobody to bury them, the county would do it out of the money that he paid for rent. So that probably was done. That was, we talking about 1890 when it was originally set up, 1890 something, you said, Jeff. But I just, you know, that's just my position. And like I said, there's no hard feelings. I just don't think we need to short circuit the needy people in Elmore County if we can get more money. Just because Wetumpka City says it fits in with their downtown redevelopment. They've been doing that for 7 years. And they still hadn't got it done. And they're probably not going to get it done as far as the utilities and the situation with the appellate court. So, you know, we don't know what's going to happen. So why don't we get the most money we can get for somebody that's a good businessman that does business in Wetumpka of a professional level. That's my position. So now I'll shut up. So y'all do what you want to do.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, we'll proceed to new business. Discuss annual report on errors, insolvents, and litigations on taxes for 2018. We will during the break. Yes, before we do any voting on anything. Discuss annual reports on errors, insolvents, litigation on taxes for 2018.
Mr. Chairman, this is a report from the Revenue Commissioner's Office that wraps up his tax sale season, and this is a required report that he must submit to the state. He does regret that he is not here today. He's in some training this week.
Thank you. Next item, consider acceptance of RC&D grant for CERT training materials and necessary budget amendments.
This is some training material for the EMA department for their CERT program, which I believe that they had their first meeting a few weeks ago, and if memory serves me correct, Keith told me that they will be doing 12 different sessions starting tonight on Monday nights throughout the summertime to get these individuals CERT trained. These are the individuals that are volunteers that help us during disasters.
Thank you. Next item, discuss appointment to the Montgomery Area Mental Health Authority Board, appointment due 7/22/19. Candidates listed, Rashawn Blassingame. And this candidate was submitted by the Montgomery Area Mental Health Authority Board. I can speak to Ms. Blassingame. I know her very well. She is a special education teacher at Wetumpka High School. She does a lot in our community with respect to mental health, and I feel will be a great representative of our interests and the county's interests on the Montgomery Area Mental Health Authority Board. I'm confident that she would be a very active participant in attending meetings and communicating with the county commission on the goings-on with respect to the Mental Health Authority. Are there any other names or candidates to be listed at this time? Okay. Next item, consider accepting resignation of Wendell Saxon from the Crenshaw Community Park Board. We received a letter of resignation from Mr. Saxon recently. As many of you are familiar, he was elected to the Elmore County Board of Education. And the next item is in conjunction with that, discuss two appointments to Crenshaw Park Board, appointments due 7/22/19. Two candidates listed, Hertazine Crenshaw and Fagale Shuford Grant. Any comments or questions or any additions to that list? Both of those appointments, the Mental Health Authority and the Crenshaw Park Board, we have a couple more meetings prior to making those appointments. Next item, consent docket, approve surplus and sale of Revenue Commission Dodge R1500, approve surplus and sale of Commission Office Dodge Durango. The next item regarding approved family leave request for Ms. Cynthia Nelson, we have that already approved in our office, so there's no need for us to vote on that tonight. There is one current. Next item, approve 105 hours sick leave donation from Anthony Edwards to Angela Rigsby, and approve travel memo. All right, we'll proceed with personnel notifications. Notification of hire of Rhonda Penn, Crenshaw Park Summer Counselor, effective 5/30/19. Notification of hire of Raven Crenshaw, Crenshaw Park Summer Counselor, effective 5/30/19. Notification of transfer of Sarah Glenn, Tag Clerk, to Probate Clerk, replace Jay Smith, effective 5/26/19. Notification of resignation of Linda Baker, Tag Clerk, effective 6/7/19. Mr. Byer, any reports to the Commission?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, just a couple of items. On May 31st, budget submissions were due from the different departments. Beginning this week, we will start meeting with those departments and kind of going over their requests to make sure we fully understand everything they're asking for, and also to try to start working on finalizing the figures for your consideration for the 2020 budget. We are still in the process in the Elmore area doing some debris cleanup. We should be winding that down here in the next week or so. That little event that wasn't classified a tornado has probably generated more debris than the other ones that we have dealt with so far this year because of the density of the homes. Also, the Rebuild Alabama, the last meeting I talked a little bit about that. We are still working on guidance. I've talked to a number of you about a potential date to meet with some of our mayors to talk about plan development with them as well, and I will make sure before the meeting is over. I think Commissioner Reeves is the only one I haven't mentioned the date and time to. I'll get with him at the break, talk over that, and see if we can't finalize that as well. The only other thing is we are continuing to work on the appraisal system. We have gotten all our comments back on the actual format and forms, and we are working with the county attorney over the next month and a half to try to get our training finalized and get that in place. So beginning FY20 that we can start the implementation of the actual appraisals and merit system as well. So, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have in the way of a report. Do y'all have any questions or comments for me?
Thank you. All right, we'll proceed now with reports from the Commission. We'll begin with Commissioner Holt.
Only thing I'd like to say is I thank you for the ones of you that are here. We appreciate you being here and taking an interest. Thank you.
Commissioner Daughtry. Thank you. Commissioner Mercer.
Thank you, Chairman. In my capacity of serving as the Elmore County representative for the ACCA Legislative Committee, there were just bring to your attention a couple of things that were of interest to the county, specifically Elmore County. Of course, the session ended the last part of May. One of the items that was of great interest to Elmore County and all counties is the passing of the Rebuild Alabama legislation, which Mr. Byer mentioned that just a moment ago. I think that's going to go a long ways in our effort to maintain the current infrastructure we have. The taxpayers have already invested great amounts of money in roads and bridges, and so that's going to help us have the funds we need to maintain that investment. The other item that I paid close attention to that I was glad to see that passed was a bill that allowed electricity providers that currently have electric lines in a right-of-way. It allows them to install lines that carry a broadband signal. That's going to allow these electric providers that would like to get into the broadband business, such as we have seen the Central Alabama Electric Co-op announce they're doing. It will allow them to utilize the same right-of-way agreements to install lines that carry a broadband signal. So that's going to be a great benefit. I also would like to thank our highway department, Luke and Richie, for what the guys have done over in the Elmore area of District 4, the May 4th event. If you didn't go over there, there was probably more damage, like Mr. Byer mentioned, than anyone would realize. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there have been 350 loads, about that, 300 to 350 loads of debris that's been removed from that area. It's not a real large area. It's just the houses are very dense, and the trees and debris. The trees were big and old trees, and it was a lot. It produced a lot of down trees. So appreciate what they have done. They have worked very hard over there, and and we hope that's the last time that's gonna happen for a while. That's all I have, Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Reeves?
I don't have anything, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I appreciate my fellow commissioners and their efforts and their comments. Just a few items. One, we are beginning our budget meetings tomorrow. We have set budget meetings with each elected official and or department head to discuss the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. We're making every effort to get started early, as we do each year, in the beginning of the summer, so that we can work through their budget needs and to discuss how we can facilitate and help them achieve their goals within their respective departments and offices. I look forward to working with each of them in these meetings. It allows us an opportunity to meet multiple times prior to the County Commission reviewing a final budget proposal and then subsequently ratifying a budget for the upcoming fiscal year. I appreciate the efforts of our Highway Department with respect to these storms that have seemed to continually find their way to Elmore County, and our volunteer fire departments and others who have selflessly worked to assist those in need. Also appreciate the volunteer organizations, several churches and other civic organizations that have organized themselves and worked with our EMA to coordinate efforts to put a dent in some of the damage that has taken place across the county, and their willingness to help their fellow man does not go unappreciated, and I hope that we'll continue to support those groups and encourage them to serve their fellow man, and I hope that we each will look for opportunities to do that in our everyday lives. I appreciate our municipalities throughout the county and our relationship with the mayors and city council members throughout the county. We have a meeting that will come up shortly where we'll meet with the mayors from each municipality in the county, where we can discuss the goings-on throughout the county and try to communicate with one another, assist each other, and find ways that we can help. We're all facing some of the similar challenges, and it's much more effective when we work together to find ways to meet those needs of the citizens of the county. We'll now proceed with important calendar dates. Ms. Kim?
Monday, June 24th is the next Commission work session at 5 with the business meetings following. Thursday, July 4th, the administrative complex will be closed in observance of Independence Day. Monday, July 8th is the Commission meeting at 5 o'clock with the business meeting following. Thursday, July 11th through Monday, July 15th will be the NACO Annual Conference in Clark County, Nevada. And Saturday, July 13th is the next countywide cleanup from 9 to 1, noting the rotating location of the town of Elmore Annex.
All right, thank you. We'll reconvene shortly. Welcome to the Elmore County Commission work session dated Monday, June 10, 2019. We'll call this meeting to order. We'll begin with an invocation offered by Commissioner Reeves, following which I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's bow our head. Lord God, we come thanking you for all the blessings this day. Lord, give us a mind that we can do the things that are pleasing in your sight, and help us do the things that is necessary for the citizens of this county. And Lord, let us, we come praying because we don't have no shape, form, or fashion, but we just want to do thy will. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen. You'll stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Kim, would you call roll?
Commissioner Holt?
Here.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Here.
Chairman Stubbs?
Here.
Commissioner Mercer?
Here.
Commissioner Reeves?
All right, we'll proceed with regular business. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the May 23, 2019 Commission meeting as presented during the work session?
Motion approved. Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Is there a motion to approve the memorandum of warrants for the period of May 18, 2019 through June 4, 2019?
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
All right, we'll proceed with old business. Is there a motion to approve authorizing chairman to execute sales agreement and ancillary documents with the city of Wetumpka for the Timms Building at 121 East Bridge Street, Wetumpka, Alabama?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt?
No.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Proceeding with new business, is there a motion to approve annual report of errors, insolvents, and litigation on taxes for 2018?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve acceptance of RC&D grant for CERT training materials, including necessary budget amendments?
Motion to approve.
Second. Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes. Is there a motion to approve accepting resignation of Wendell Saxon from the Crenshaw Community Park Board?
Motion approved.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve the consent docket as presented?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Proceeding with personnel notifications, notification of hire of Rhonda Penn, Crenshaw Park Summer Counselor, effective 5/30/19. Notification of hire of Raven Crenshaw, Crenshaw Park Summer Counselor, effective 5/30/19. Notification of transfer of Sarah Glenn, Tag Clerk, to Probate Clerk, replace Jay Smith, effective 5/26/19. Notification of resignation of Linda Baker, Tag Clerk, effective 6/7/19. Are there any additional reports to the Commission? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.